I thought I knew everything about myself, but this mistake has taught me more about who I truly am than any success ever could. Never again will I let myself ignore the lessons in front of me. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom to realize that the mistakes we make are the ones that change us the most. I'm never going back to who I was before. This is my rebirth. The hardest lessons come wrapped in failure, and now that I've learned the hard way, I can't forget the pain that brought me here. I'll never make that mistake again. There's no greater teacher than regret, and the mistakes I've made will forever shape the way I move forward. I won't repeat this journey. It's one thing to fail, but it's another to never learn from it. I've learned, and I'm stronger for it. I'll never make that mistake again. Not now, not ever. The worst part about making a mistake is knowing I could have avoided it. But that's life, right? Mistakes shape us, and I'll never make that fucking mistake again. I used to think I could just brush off the lessons life handed me, but now I know better. I won't make that mistake again, not in this lifetime. Mistakes are proof that you are trying, but repeating them is proof that you didn't learn. I've learned, and I'll never make that mistake again. Regret is powerful, but growth is even more powerful. I'll carry the lessons with me, and I won't make that mistake again. When you've fallen so hard, you realize that not every mistake is worth repeating. I've learned my lesson, and I'll never make that mistake again. I used to think second chances were all I needed. Now, I know they're a luxury, and I'll never make that mistake again. Every mistake has a price, and I've paid mine. But I'm done paying. I've learned what I needed, and I'll never make that mistake again. I've been there, done that, and failed. But now I'm wiser, stronger, and smarter. That mistake is behind me for good. The path to wisdom is paved with mistakes. But it's not about how many times you fall. It's about never falling for the same thing again. The regret of making a mistake is fleeting, but the lessons learned stay forever. I'm carrying mine forward, and I'll never make that mistake again. They say you learn from your mistakes, but I say you learn faster if you don't make the same mistake twice. I'm moving forward without repeating my past. It took me far too long to learn the lesson, but now that I've learned it, I'll never make that mistake again. Not once, not ever. There's no greater feeling than knowing you've learned your lesson. I won't make that mistake again, no matter how tempting it is. The pain of making a mistake can be unbearable, but it's nothing compared to the regret of repeating it. I've learned, and I'll never make that mistake again. In the end, The greatest victory isn't avoiding mistakes, it's choosing not to make the same ones twice. I'll never make that mistake again. I used to feel like making mistakes was the end, but now I know it's just a step toward something better. I'll never make that mistake again. The worst kind of mistake is the one you don't learn from, but I've learned, and I'll never make that mistake again. Mistakes aren't meant to be repeated, they're meant to teach us something. I've learned my lesson, and I'll never make that mistake again. Every time I think about the mistake I made, I'm reminded of how far I've come. It may have been painful, but I've grown, and I'll never make that mistake again. The hardest part isn't failing, it's watching yourself fall for the same thing over and over. I won't fall again, not after what I've learned. Failure isn't fatal unless you refuse to learn from it. I've learned, and I'll never make that mistake again. The mistake was a lesson in disguise, and now that I've unwrapped it, I'm stronger, wiser, and more cautious. I'll never make that mistake again. I used to think that mistakes defined me, but now I see they were just stepping stones. I'll never make that mistake again, though. I've learned. I learned the hard way, but I'll never make that mistake again. No more excuses, no more regrets, just growth. The lesson was hard, but the change it brought is worth every ounce of pain. I'll never make that mistake again. Some lessons you learn once, others you learn the hard way. I've learned mine, and I'll never make that mistake again. There's a certain kind of strength that comes with never making the same mistake twice. I have that strength now, and I'll never make that mistake again. We all make mistakes, but only the wise make sure they don't repeat them. I'm wiser now, and I'll never make that mistake again. Every mistake is a lesson in disguise. I've unwrapped mine, and I won't be fooled again. Never making that mistake again.